Thank you so much, and appreciate being here to address such a large group from many locations. My name is John Antos. I work for ADP, which, if you're not familiar with us, is one of the world's largest HR, HCM, payroll services companies in the world, and we serve many of the locations that all of you may have come from today. What I wanted to share with you, as Dr. Bhatia was saying, it's quite interesting, and my colleague Stephanie, as she was talking about people and technology. And so they asked me the question, they said, can you talk a little bit about what the future of HR is, especially with AI and new technologies coming in? So I gave this some thought, and I remember back, would have been maybe 2015, we began some research. I worked on a research project with the MIT Technology Review. And that was back when we were all worried that robots would take our jobs, if you remember that. Automation was coming in, RPA was coming in, and people were like, am I going to be replaced? Our factory is going to be just filled with robots and no people anymore. And we were concerned at the time. And what the research that we did with the MIT Technology Review and ADP found was exactly what my colleague Stephanie had just referred to, is that technology and people need to work together. The end of 9 sets of publications that we produced was that this is going to be about technology augmentation of people and people's ability to upskill themselves to successfully use the technology to help their companies to succeed. And that's really, I think, what we're seeing today. But as I'll conclude, I have a couple of thoughts from our brand new CEO, Maria Black, on where she thinks that AI will take us in the world of HR, which I think are quite interesting. So to get started, the one thing that we don't want to lose sight of is HR is always going to be about people. And so every year, ADP produces the People at Work Global Study. We look at this year over 32,000 employees in over 17 countries around the world. As ADP has been doing since 2015, we produce this every year. We put it on the website and give it away, not just to clients, not just to prospects, but to all of the HR community and business leaders to help you all know more about your employees and to run your companies better. And at the end of this presentation will be a QR code that you can download this year's report so that you can use it at your companies. So what I'm going to share with you today is the Asia Pacific. So spotlight on Asia Pacific. And what we do here in this region is we look at 4 different markets. We look at Singapore for Southeast Asia. We look at Australia, India, and China to get kind of a composite look of, while there's many different cultures in this region, kind of where are we in comparison when we look at other parts of the world. And so some things that won't, some of the general findings that won't be a surprise to any of you that are working late nights for multinational companies and having global clients all around the world, is that we are, in this region, an economic powerhouse. We work long hours. As you'll see, we work longer hours and we work more unpaid hours, more hours after the end of the paid time than any other region in the world. And that's been consistent every single year that we've done this survey. So we are a hard-working bunch of people, and so are all of our employees, but we all expect to be rewarded accordingly. And we'll see some data, especially as inflation increased last year, and things cost more for us when you go to NTUC and you're buying your groceries, and that's true for every single employee at all of our companies, as well as all of us. And that, they're looking to companies to help them out with, so they're looking for rewards. But we also see that this region leads in other ways other than simply economic. And this will cover a bit of territory in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we also are going to take a look at a little bit of job satisfaction as we go through. So 4 main findings that I will touch on a little bit each today, but these are the important things, takeaways to come away with. Pay and compensation. How much is enough? Your employees are asking this question, and they're looking to their companies to come up with answers. The importance and impact of flexibility. Flexibility is a word that the pandemic brought home to us and made more important in our workplace lives than ever before, and it has not gone away. A caring workplace culture is now becoming more important, and the expectations that you had during the pandemic, when times were really tough in every single country, and employees were maybe remote, maybe they were still having to go on site, and they were really looking to their companies. What happens now 2 or 3 years later? Are we still caring as much? Do they feel the same about that same culture? And what are their feelings about the future? And then, as I said, a little bit about AI as we go through the end. So, first of all, pay and compensation, the first topic, how much is enough? Frankly, many of us work to get paid. I'm in that category. While it's a bonus that I love that the work that I do. Honestly, I have a mortgage to pay and bills to pay, and so you work to get paid. And not surprisingly, 59% of all of the employees that we surveyed in this region said that that is their number one. And I can tell you every single year, out of all the different things that we survey, wages and salary are the top consideration in every country around this region and around the world. So that is the single biggest reason for employees to come there and to work. While last year we saw the average pay rise was 6.42% in this region, that's actually really good. Before pandemic, we're talking maybe half of that. And that ranged anywhere from India being a high at around 7% to Australia being around 5%. What we can see, though, is that in this year's survey, employees still feel like they're maybe not being paid enough. And 2/3 of them are expecting more money this year because they're still paying more for all the things that they need to do in their daily lives. The question is can businesses afford this, right? And so businesses have been saying, can we do this? Last year, multinational corporations, the average rise around the world was about 3.5% to 4% if you look across all the countries and all the companies. But really many countries, inflation was 7 or 8%. So that says that the wages were not keeping up with the costs that each individual employee was facing. And so what are companies doing in the meantime? So what we see is in this region, the one key tool that companies have been using is a one-off payment. We see other companies increasing benefits, offering a little bit more flexibility. It's a combination of things. But the number one thing in the survey was that they're doing a one-off payment to help offset that differential between their employees' expectations and needs and what they can truly afford to do as a business in terms of ongoing salary. The importance of flexibility. So we mentioned this. So flexibility is really important, and I will tell you that that is one word, flexibility. But since we started doing this survey, and we actually did this survey twice in the main pandemic year, when many of us who were in Singapore were sitting in circuit breaker, and then phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 in this room, we took a look at the change in flexibility. And there's flexibility is really flexibility of location and flexibility of time. And I can tell you as business leaders, if you have to make a choice, if you have to prioritize flexibility of time, every single year comes out as more important to individual employees than flexibility of location. Given that, though, we can still see, and you'll see in just a moment, that a number of people, the digital nomad feeling is still around, right? So we see 27% of Asia Pacific employees are expected to come into the workplace every day, but a large degree, more than 4 in 10, still have flexibility of where they want to work, and many people have complete flexibility. We see satisfaction levels, about half, slightly over half are satisfied. The flip side of that is half are maybe less satisfied. A caring workplace culture, as we go through, is one thing that I think was quite interesting in terms of how the study came out. Because for me, I've seen it at many companies, and I've talked to many employees who say, I really was proud of my company, the way that they cared for all of us during the pandemic. They were really human for the first time to me. Before I thought I'd work for a big company, but I was getting emails from really senior people, and they really said a lot of important things to me, and it really helped me at a time of need. The question is are we still doing that, right? Or have we gone back to let's just do business and expecting employees to kind of come along for the ride? And do employees feel that, right? Do they still need that? And so a caring workplace culture, we asked a few questions around this. And one of the things is that we still see that mental health, 44%, is still a challenge for people after the pandemic. Stress, 2/3 in our region. And our region has always had some of the highest stress numbers in this survey of any region in the world because we work such long hours, we work crazy hours, and we work more unpaid hours. So there's a lot of stress in our lives. But you'll see that 69% of workers feel that they're supported by their managers, which is a good thing, but they actually are turning to their coworkers more frequently. 76% feel supported by colleagues. And so that's a hint of another thing that I want to remind you of. So in the middle of the pandemic, we came in here and expected managers to manage people all on site, then manage people all remotely, then manage people in new workplace models, all without a lot of training. Right? We just put a lot on the managers and really expected them to be able to flex and deliver and manage all the people. And so that support for managers and training and upskilling for managers, I think, is still a needed area, is what this would show. So what are some feelings about the future? So we see that we are an optimistic bunch. Despite working really hard, I'm happy to say that this region, the Asia Pacific region, in every single year of the survey is the most optimistic region about the future of any of the regions in the world. More than Europe, more than North America. We're the ones that feel that the future are good, and we're excited by that. And in a lot of cases, that's led by India, it's led by China, maybe less so Singapore and Australia in individual terms. But this year overall, the region, about 89% feel positive about their next 5 years. 91% are excited about their current role. And so really then what that means is the turnover that maybe some of your companies saw last year could still be an issue, as we see 39% don't necessarily feel secure in their jobs, but we see an increasing level of satisfaction and comfort and optimism, which should maybe help you all run your companies a little bit more smoothly than last year, where you had some talent challenges, people were rotating around, it was difficult to find new people, and new people were getting more and more expensive. And we talked to many people in India and Australia and Singapore, and I've talked to clients all around the region. Last year was really challenging from a talent perspective. And so the good news here from this survey shows that potentially that may be getting back to a more normal pace. So almost 2/3 of workers say that they work adversely affects stress, and that they're concerned about mental health. And this goes back to the point that I was making about the workplace culture. And these were, I felt like, new statistics this year, a different way that we ask the question that are important. And so if we're still challenged by some of the mental health issues that we've had, we're still trying to work on that a little bit. Are companies really doing enough? Have we stepped back a little bit from that caring nature that we had during the pandemic? And what's interesting, if you look at the bottom center here, employees now report that their employers are less likely than last year to check in with their workers, less likely to provide well-being day off, less likely to offer special counseling services, less likely to allow stress management breaks. But we've seen all the data that there's still 2/3 of the people are stressed at work. So are these things really needed? Are we doing what's needed to provide the caring workplace culture that we're going to need to nurture and upskill and spend time with the rest of our employees as we go forward? And so lastly, just before I get to my final comment, working without borders. I mentioned that digital nomad feeling is still around. And actually it's still here. Almost half of employees think that they could relocate overseas. What I've learned in talking to many of you and many of your colleagues in companies all around the region is, from a business perspective, that sounds great when you're hiring somebody in the talent acquisition process. Oh yeah, you could work from anywhere. Just take your laptop and go. When it comes down to actually doing payroll, taxes, all the other types of things that you need to, work permits, that's actually not quite so easy. And so companies are kind of struggling and still trying to figure this out. I would encourage you to continue to try to do that. Because while flexibility of time is important in an individual daily basis, flexibility of location offers career advancement, it offers cultural enrichment, and it offers things that bring back better employees overall that will change your companies in ways that you can't imagine. And so where does this future lead us? So going back to the beginning, where's the future of HR with AI? So I went to Maria Black, our new CEO, and she had recently given a discussion that I think was very interesting. She said that she's seen a lot of changes in HR, and she's been in the business longer than I have. But she said originally HR, if you think about it, was just around organizing people. We just need to get people together so that we can do work together, right? And we can produce items. Then HR moved into, let's study these people and understand, let's create career paths, what's their behavior like. So there used to be behavioral studies, and behavioral HR became a trend. Then there was strategic HR. So how do we take these people we have and manage them and kind of move them around and do workforce planning became the next big thing. And really for the last decade or so, we've been focused on HR technology. So how do we apply technology to our people, and how do we create data, and how do we know more about them and try to automate a few more things? And so AI is really the next piece to that. And where does that lead us? I don't know. It's really too early to say, to be quite honest. ChatGPT has only been a thing for 3 or 4 months. But what I can tell